Hello everybody, I'm Justin. I'm hoping this is going to be a quick talk, but let's see how verbose I'm going to be. The plan about the talk was going to be a different talk, and then Tati, wherever you are, said we need to give some constructive feedback. So as a result, I've rebooted the talk quite a lot. The initial talk I was going to have was around the experience of being in a coma and then becoming a professor in neuroscience, and how my brother was my Sherpa and coached me through occupational therapy with my body being paralyzed and I'm having to relearn to talk and everything. But that talk was quite a selfish talk, I think. So what I've done under my correctional advisement, I've looked at how the brain functions democratically and how it doesn't do that. And out of the coma that I experienced, I started to look at what can I do to reboot version 2 of Justin, and I started thinking about the thinking that I do and don't do so well. So this talk is titled a very dangerous talk. You want to see it in your packs, and the title is "Your Brain is a Selfish Democrat." So what I'm going to do with this talk with you guys, I'm going to take you through a process of showing you how democracy functions or doesn't when you're making decisions. So the first part of the talk is to play with you for a bit, okay? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you a bit of information around the brain, and then we're going to play a game. So the two parts of the brain I want you to be familiar with is the limbic system, which is the lower red arrow, and the prefrontal cortex, which is the one slightly higher to the left. So the lower part of the brain, let me go back. The lower part of the brain is the limbic system. So everybody, I want you to play with me for a second. So this is your brain, okay? So everybody, put your hands together like this with your thumbs in the middle, okay? So this is your brain. Everybody, hands together. Those who got your hands together, you haven't got it right. So here we go. So this is your brain. In the middle is the limbic system. So if you wobble your thumb around, that is when there's too much emotional stuff going on. And if there's too much emotion, the prefrontal cortex doesn't really know how to think straight, and you end up freaking out. Freak out, everybody. Freak out with me. Okay, okay. So what we're going to do right now through this talk, we're going to show you how not to freak out, but how we can use Ubuntu to link things together, and how I'm going to show you how democracy is a vehicle to do that. So before I get too lost in that, I'm just going to take you a quick journey through how the brain works, okay? So the first thing that happens when you freak out is you have a fear response. The emotional loading in the limbic system becomes exhausting, and what happens is that you have a fear response. It ends up in norepinephrine in the brain, which ends up in adrenaline, but it's that time when you skrik your mur. For everyone overseas, that means you shit in your pants, okay? Or hopefully not. If you're doing a TED talk, hopefully you're wearing a nappy. So what happens when you have this fear response, you get ready to do something. You get ready to take action. And this state of being mad in the mind is because the limbic system is just overloaded, which looks like allostatic loading, which I'll mention in a little bit. So the second space that you go after that experience, you end up in a place where you're just exhausted, where you have a lot of serotonin that doesn't get reuptake through the membrane. So what happens with the sad response ends up, you feel kind of out on a limb. You don't really know what to do. There are lots of pharmaceuticals that function as serotonin inhibitors, so it keeps the serotonin in your head, in your brain. But that doesn't really work so well over the long term. You feel kind of depressed about democracy and everything else in between. What happens is if you start to get some good results, you start to get a reward system of doing things that might be more intelligent or giving you some kind of reward. So when you get that dopamine flood, you feel a little bit stoned. Not that I know what that feels like, but if you did know what that was, it would be something like that. Just work with me, okay? So you get a bit of a reward response. I mean, it's like that runner's high, as opposed to any other kind of high that you might be referring to. So the next space is the really important one I want to speak about, is when you feel just okay with things. You get that space where you're getting more into that connected space. So oxytocin is the hormone that binds people together. Mothers who are breastfeeding have lots of it because they're bonding with their baby. So the oxytocin floods their brain. And this is where things get interesting about how we can build relationships and we can ensure that the glucocorticoids of stress don't get in the way. Because if there's too much stress in the system, things start to fall apart in the brain. So glucocorticoids, too much of them end up in cortisol. Cortisol is the primary stress hormone. And then you can't really cope. You end up having physical disease, neurological disease, and you just end up in a pile of problems. So what I want to speak right now is how this looks democratically in the brain. So if the brain is a noun, it's a piece of protein, it's a blob of fatty jelly in your brain. This is a thing you can see, touch, and smell, I suppose. But the brain is a noun, it's a thing you can see, where the mind is best understood as a verb. It's an activity that the brain does. So the brain is a noun, the mind is a verb. It's something the brain does. Okay, got me? Okay, perfect. So we live in a country, in a republic, which has lots of people and lots of land and lots of gold, which Jeanette will tell you about later. But more importantly, this is attractive land with lots of people in it. It's a noun. It's something you can see and you can live in and you can do your thing. So the South Africa, any republic, but this, in the case of this talk, South Africa is the republic. And this is where it gets a bit tricky. South Africa, what does it do? In my theory, it should see democracy as a verb. It's not a thing we have, which we were betrothed upon, but it's something that we need to do to have this republic to be functional. Republic noun, democracy the activity that we need to be doing. And I think that's where we miss the point a lot as country. We think we just have the gift of democracy, but it's something we need to be doing instead of talking about. So think about how your brain does or doesn't do democratic activities. How you go about doing things that are selfish. How you go about doing things that are lazy. Hope you like my drawing of the lazy brain. So all of us have a lazy brain. We do things that are selfish because we need to survive and buy stuff and, eat stuff. But the brain is lazy because it first does things that are going to help you survive, and that's a good thing. It doesn't like to do things that are more Ubuntu because you run out of energy after you've just got home for a day's work. So here's how my lazy brain works. My brain is lazy in the sense that I do things to care for my children, which I love to death, as most parents do. And I enjoy them, and I get a lot of oxytocin released by being the good father and buying them sweets and junk and all that fun stuff. But I get the oxytocin released by doing things selfishly because I get that love back from them. So I get to be a good dad, and I feel that the next tie for my birthday is somehow amazing. But in the truth of the fact is that that's part of my limbic system functioning. I'm getting all the love, I'm getting all the feedback, I'm getting to enjoy that place of fatherhood. Where my brain doesn't go, and this is where my brain is lazy, and maybe you can think about your own brain as well. My brain doesn't think what's going to happen with the next generation of these children, what's going to happen with the climate of this country. How on earth are these 3 little children going to make it in the next generation? How are they going to survive? How are they going to be in a functional democratic environment? So I'm thinking at this time, how can I then spread my skills or my assistance in a way to make things, a bit better for these 3 children and also for the children in general. So I was thinking, maybe I need to go and do something. So I went and had a haircut. What do you think? Okay. And as I was having this haircut, speaking to the hairdresser, and it worked out that I went to school with her daughter. And then we start chatting and chatting. And she is doing this incredibly interesting project called Next Generation. And what they're doing in this project, they are busy taking disadvantaged young ladies out of the matric standard 11, grade 11 age group, and they are helping them transition out of their disadvantaged environments, and they're helping them get into undergraduate courses to become accountants and doctors and medical professionals or whatever. So they're helping these girls who have not much of an opportunity to shift over to the next side. I thought this is such a paradigm shift for these girls. So a lot of them don't make it. They don't make the translation. So I thought a good way of doing this would be to explain how hard and hot and difficult it is to make this translation over from one side into the another side of your life. So I thought the best way to do this would be to make a visual and a hot experience for you in this TED Talk. And the way that I thought of doing it was laying out a firewalk on the stage. I got canned, okay? No one said it would work. But pretend with me that this red is the firewalk, okay? So just work with me that we've laid out the coals here. And you might like to know that a firewalk is psychologically rather than physiologically difficult. If you walk over the coals quick enough, as you wouldn't hang around, there's not enough heat through that process to burn your feet. But if any of you have done a firewalk, you would know that the limbic system is going on like Donkey Kong. You can't really take your time to walk over. You just can't do it. But once you have crossed over your firewalk, you feel like you are the king of Siam or whatever, the king of the world. You feel magnificent. So the plan was to assist these young ladies in a way. So I spoke to my friend from school and I said, how can I be part of this? I function as an executive coach a lot of the time, and I thought, how can I translate that skill into a way to help these girls to build a highway in their brains so they can do fantastic things. Not so much firewalking, obviously, but firewalking through their lives so that they don't overload their limbic systems, but they do things that are going to be magnificent in their lives. So they don't fall out of varsity, they don't get pregnant, they don't do silly things. They do things that are using their prefrontal cortex. So they don't get mad, bad, sad, or even glad, but they feel okay with their lives and they feel they can cope. So here's where my brain got selfish again. I thought, okay, I'll be the dude. I will help these girls. I will get involved. I will be the guy to be helping them build their potential. And I thought again, maybe that is me being selfish again, because I then get to be the fun guy who's helping all these people. But I thought, what would be even better than that would be to build up a population of intelligent people who were motivated to join me in building up the next generation of professionals and leaders of our country. So, you might like to know that in about 20 seconds, your limbic systems are going to start firing up. Because what I'm going to do is I'm going to invite Ndise on the stage to tell you about her story and how she is going through this process herself and what she's got from the program and how she'd like some support. And then I'm going to invite you to be part of the training so that you can coach these young ladies through their firewalking experience so they can too be the next generation who show their potential. So come up to the stage quickly with me, and this is one of the graduates of the program. We haven't got a microphone for you, but here we go.
Greetings to you all. My name is Letlabile Davana. I'm 20 years of age and I'm from Alexander Township. So I'm here to tell you a bit more about the Einstein Next Gen program, which is a program that aims to develop the next generation of women leaders in Africa. So to talk a bit more about, where this program found me, I'm from Alexander Township, and as you know, all of all of you, like, it's based next to Sandton and all that. So growing up in Alex, it was not really easy. It was tough, as, you know, most young people would face, you know, with being exposed to, like, crime and, you know, teenage pregnancy and all that. When I was 15, I lost my mom, and, you know, it was quite tough because she was, you know, my source of strength, and I believe that she would be one person that will help me make it out of the township, but it didn't work out that way. But luckily, I was found by the EY Next Gen program, which adopted me to be part of the program. And they took us through a series of, you know, camps, and they empowered us, motivated us, and inspired us also. So I got the opportunity through EY to go to the African Leadership Academy, which was where, you know, my life started to change. You know, going to a school that is like a Pan-African institution where, you know, like you find kids from all over the continent, you compete with kids, and I'm from the township, I went to township school, which is really quite an amazing thing. And I think one thing that really enabled me to go to the African Leadership Academy is through the support of people like from Ernst & Young. And I believe that, you know, there's so many young people in my township, in different townships, who didn't get the privilege that I got, and would really use your assistance to, like, you know, help them get out of the township, help them realize that it's really, you know, life that is bigger than, you know, where they are, because sometimes they tend to leave where they are and think that's where they'll end up. But getting people like you to go out there and motivate them, to tell them that, you know, they can get where you are. It's not really impossible. Telling them that, you know, their background really does not determine where they are supposed to go in life, and not allowing their background to put their backs on the ground. So that's basically me. You know, EY has helped me a lot, and I believe I really would speak on behalf of young people in different townships to say they really need your help. They really need you to go in person, mentor them, be there for them, and, you know, encourage them, tell them that they can make it. Because I believe it took somebody to tell me that my background cannot determine what I can do, where I can go in life. But, you know, what I put, the effort that I put can determine what I do in life. So, yeah, that's me.
Oh, very good. Thank you so much. Wasn't that the coolest thing? So here's the difficult part. I'm inviting you, some of you, or all of you, should have in your bags a little drop from our company to take you through the training, so that you can be part of the community that are going to coach these young ladies into the next generation that are going to be part of the solution. It's more than just a few of you, but we're going to hopefully grow it. So notice that all I want from you is to speak to my colleague, Dr. Rob, after, or give him that, tear off the bottom of that slip, give us your email address, or Tati, they can probably just send a Twitter feed with your details on it, so we can get it like that. But the call to action is what makes democracy function. This is a call to action. If you don't want to be part of it, that's cool, but do something that makes democracy an activity rather than something you just sit and have as a gift. Thank you for the gift of your time. I really enjoyed this.